Yeah, I think you got to talk about Shohei Ohtani. I mean, it is incredible. And with him going back to Anaheim for the first time, it got me thinking. I remember the first time I went to spring training in Arizona, and Mike Trout and Justin Upton are like, "You've never seen power like this ever." And I'm like, "Come on, guys, seriously?" And he started taking BP, hitting balls where they weren't. And it got me thinking. We tour and see all these different stadiums. And the cool thing where Shohei playing in L.A., we get a chance to compare to some of the great Dodger hitters that hit home runs there. But I want to start with the other night. And this is what happened. So we can roll the video, and because I'm sitting at home and I'm watching this home run from Shohei as he put the helmet on with the cool hair, walked to the plate, and he hits this bomb to dead center. He doesn't stand and watch many. But it got me thinking, man, there's been some memorable home runs hit in that ballpark. And he's hit them all over the world. How about this early in the year when Sanchez hit this ball, and at the time is the largest number in StatCast. Look at the ball where it landed. He hit this ball 480 feet, all right? And I went, well, Shohei's got that kind of power. I remember the WBC when he was taking BP. I'm sitting there watching him hit, and he's hitting balls off the back wall. What? Could not believe it. If I wasn't there, I wouldn't have believed it. Even if shocking himself. They're running all over the place to get it. And then this one hit off the scoreboard in left, right center field, off the scoreboard and trickled down. So look it, here's a good look. You got this right here, the red dots up here that I'm going to show you here in a second. Even Shohei, I got a chance to talk to him. I said, "Did you see that ball went up the scoreboard?" Like, yeah. But the red dots are where he was hitting balls. The green dots where Sanchez landed. Anyway, hey, Kansas City. All right, it's always had the fountains. That was kind of the place to look for. Like, man, you hit a ball in the fountains. Bo hit the ball in the fountains. Oh, my goodness. The power is unbelievable. Well, Shohei's been there. He's been into the fountains and over. So I'm thinking, God, in Kansas City, all that great power, he's hitting balls where they weren't. How about old Anaheim Stadium? Hadn't changed much. Yeah, they took the rocks down. They fancied it up a little bit. But it's the same digs that Nolan Ryan pitched in. And, yes, in 2002, Barry Bonds hit this ball. He even had my good friend Tim Salmon sitting there going, "That's the furthest ball I've ever seen hit." All right? Yeah, we all thought that in 2002. That was Barry Bonds, folks. Nobody's going to hit a ball that far. Same ballpark, same bullpen, same right field stands. Look where Shohei hits this thing. What? Yes, it's just great to go back and compare the greatest home runs we've ever seen and wonder where he's hitting them at. Look at Mike Trout on the on-deck circle. Are you kidding me? Yeah, it's the same guy Mike told me about. That ball was one of the furthest balls I think I ever saw hit. Ever. Not just Anaheim. This was 493. Come on, StatCast, help me out. Should have been 500. All right, now let's go to Boston. All right, Ted Williams. When you go to Fenway, Dan Plesac knows this, you either look for the red seat out there in right field, which I still can't believe Ted hit a ball that far, or you go, can a guy go over the monster? Like David Ortiz, that's one of the opposite field for a lefty. Well, Shohei hit this one one-handed and went out of the stadium. What? One-handed? Bye. Oh, my goodness, the power is just incredible and unmatched. All right, so last one. Reggie Jackson. I have to break this out for you just to show you the power that Reggie had off the transformer at the All-Star game in Old Tiger Stadium, which I wish they still had. This is Dodger Stadium back in the 60s, and then here's Reggie in 78 in the World Series. Yeah, he hits that ball, same stadium, you see the same decor, and that ball lands in the same bullpen everybody talks about. Shohei hit this ball down the concourse. What? Over everything. Even Dave Roberts is like, you know why Dave had that look? Because he's like, man, I've been in L.A. a long time. I know what old Dodger Stadium looked like. That's where that ball's landed. All right, Dodger Stadium has not changed, folks. We're seeing something from the ages. He's hitting balls that anybody you can imagine, whether it was Willie Stargell, whether it was McCovey, whether it was Piazza, you name it. Whoever's played in those ballparks that he's visited, he's matching their power. Look at his numbers this year. I mean, we're talking about MVP. We're talking about all the things he's doing. We're focusing on these two for sure, the stolen bases and the home runs. And yes, he's on his way to 50-50. But guys, he's hit first and second, Dan, all year long. And look at his RBI total. 98 RBIs. He's hit 1 and 2. I mean, incredible what this guy can do. Generational power, guys.
99 home runs in Angel Stadium. I mean, he certainly grew up there as a player and burst onto the scene for all of us with what he became as that two-way superstar there. What do you make of the end of his tenure, John, in Los Angeles with the Angels?
Yeah, well, I give the Angels credit for letting him do what he does, which is be one of the best hitters in baseball and one of the best pitchers. So I give them credit for that. Obviously, the end of the tenure did not go as swimmingly as they would have liked. I actually like the fact that they went for it, but if you're going to go for it like that and keep Ohtani, I think then you have to make a real effort to keep him long term, and they didn't do that. So in hindsight, that's where I think they made the mistake. If you're going to go for it like that, keep him on the team, then you're playing to keep him long term. That really was the selling point of that, more than bringing in Giolito or whoever they brought in. So I think that's where they made the mistake. It's their error, because look at the guy, as you said, Steve, amazing, incredible. I've run out of adjectives. Certainly the MVP.
Yeah, so these are the players they brought in last year at the trade deadline. I looked at it, thought it was baseball malpractice to not trade him for the future of their franchise. Even if they wanted to sign him for the long term, go out there, trade him. They gave up potentially 10 prospects when they could have gotten 10 prospects. So it's a net 20 prospect swing for the organization. And then they didn't step up to put the money out there either. So I thought it was such a disappointment, so anticlimactic, the ending with the Angels.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at kind of what, the Padres were able to get for Juan Soto in the offseason, and you think to yourself, okay, maybe it's not quite that package, but you could have gotten some really nice pieces, maybe some nice veterans to go along with all these young guys that they keep calling up really early in their career. We just saw Dana and Aldegari make their debuts on the mound for them. Maybe they get a couple veteran pitchers to go along and pair with those guys so that they can kind of teach them, how to go about their business and how to be successful at the big league level. Because unfortunately, in this Angels, organization, they haven't had a lot of success on that pitching side. So you bring in some veterans, show these young guys how to do it, and kind of raise your organization up just a level of play instantly by doing so. You'd like to have seen them do that. I do like that they went for it, because to me, you get to that point in the year, and I want every team to try to go for it from the beginning of the year to the end. But at some point, you do have to look at your organization and say, you know what, maybe this isn't going to happen, and move on. And I do like your idea of, look, you trade him, and then it doesn't close the door of still having conversations with him in the offseason.
Yeah, had they traded him, as you said, right when Soto was traded, Soto actually had 3 years to go. And it is logical that you could get more for Soto, but my understanding is because it's Ohtani and he was a two-way player, and even though he only had 2 years to go, they actually could have gotten more for Ohtani than they gave up for Soto. So, I mean, that was a big loss. I mean, in hindsight, and you're right, Steve, because I know you at this time you were saying it, they should trade him. And I'm like, I praise them for going for it. I got to be honest about it. You were right. They could have gotten a ton at that point.
They could have.
With 2 years to go.
Could have traded some of the other players on the roster, too. Now, the other thing for me about the end of his tenure with the Angels that's concerning to me is that it felt like his body started rejecting being a two-way player. So remember the game in Detroit. He throws the shutout. First game of the doubleheader. He was awesome. Awesome. This really, hey, we're going to keep you. Go out there, try to make the playoffs. He was fantastic. Then the second game, he hits 2 home runs, but has to leave the game because he's cramping. And from that point forward, he started cramping everywhere. His legs, his forearms, his hands, all of that. And to me, that was his body saying, this is too much for me to do. And then ultimately, the ligament gives out on his elbow. And it is a pause for me about the two-way aspect of his future, because he's a guy that, for me, he's the most protected pitcher of anybody in baseball. And he still broke down and said 2 Tommy Johns. And so my concern is, for the long term, can he hold up to this two-way player? We shall certainly see.